We're right underneath it.
It's like nothing I've ever seen.
So all that overburden that you see over top of that seam of coal down there is going to be shoved over the hillside. You're down over into the headwater streams. And you're all laying in your fine homes and turning your air conditioning on. You never give it a second thought where your electricity's coming from. And somebody's paying the price for it. There's a cost for everything. These people that live in these communities are the ones paying the cost.
Coal and the workers who mined it helped build this country. They made steel for our towers and powered our wars.
King coal is our primary source of heat and energy.
For more than a century, coal has dominated West Virginia. Today, its governor is a billionaire coal baron. But technology has reshaped the energy industry and changed the way coal is mined. Coal companies buy up whole mountains, find a thin seam of coal, and blast away until they expose it for mining. This is mountaintop removal, and researchers say it has staggering health effects for people who live near active sites. But to see one of these sites with your own eyes, you have to get a little creative.
Temperature 22, 2.17, altimeter 3019er.
We've got these small towns and communities surrounded by mountains. When the tops are blown off of those mountains, it pushes heavy metals into the water, into the air.
Basically turning a mountain inside out and turning up the landscape like that. So not only is it being launched into the air through the blast, but then rain is leaching the materials into the streams. These are the headwaters for the bigger rivers. For the Ohio River alone, there's 3 to 5 million people that use it as a source of drinking water. All the scientists pointed to the fact that mountaintop removal shortens lives.
Only 1% of U.S. coal comes from mountaintop removal, but these sites take up 10% of the land in central Appalachia. Despite that, neither the state nor federal government has paid much attention to this kind of mining. Instead, the role of watchdog has fallen to academic researchers. 24 peer-reviewed studies have found that this kind of coal mining has a health impact for people living nearby. In an area with mountaintop removal, one study showed odds of reporting cancer were twice as high compared to a non-mining area in West Virginia. Another study showed newborns were especially at risk. Rates of heart defects in newborns were 181% higher in areas with mountaintop removal. Smoking, occupation, and family history were all controlled for. Altogether, researchers estimate 1,460 excess deaths in mountaintop removal areas every year. Although the major coal companies operating mountaintop removal sites wouldn't talk to us on the record, the industry has aggressively countered these health claims through its own channels, even funding a research center at Virginia Tech University. And while the debate has gone on, researchers say the worst impacts are hitting remote, small towns tucked into the hollers of Appalachia.
This is my water stock. I use water out of a bottle. The water out of my faucet is not healthy water. I know that it has selenium in it.
So this is the water right here. Yeah. This is your water stock.
Yeah, that's what I use for water, yeah. Most of the people in this area get their water for cooking, drinking, coffee, anything like that comes out of plastic bottles. Throughout the years living here, 3,500 feet from a mountaintop removal operation, myself and my children have had terrible problems with our sinuses, a lot of bronchitis, a lot of breathing issues. Cancer is extremely common here. My daughter's lost 4 friends to cancer, and she's only 22. I mean, when you live here, it's just part of it. You almost know what your death diagnosis is going to be just because you live here.
Somebody watching this might say, well, why wouldn't they move? Explain to them, why wouldn't you?
I'm not willing to give up everything that makes up my identity and the identity of our future generations, our family's future generations. I'm not willing to give that up for a Black Rock. I'm just not willing to give it up.
We're walking into a public hearing. This is a chance for people to come here and give their input to a study that the National Academies are doing on the link between mountaintop removal coal mining and human health.
I'd like to first thank everyone for being here, and we appreciate your courage in making this effort to help us with our study.
These people love being coal miners in this state. I hear kids throughout the country getting cancer at 3 years old, never been around a coal mines. Are you looking at that? These strip mines, these coal trucks, that dust and that coal slurry makes people sick. And that's the bottom line, period, on into that sentence.
This study, begun in 2016, is funded by the federal government and staffed by a panel of experts. To people who say mountaintop removal is making them sick, it's their best hope for action on the issue. But it's also a threat to an industry that a lot of people here have built their life around.
My name is Dennis Adkins. I am a 31-year veteran of the coal industry, retired in 2010. We call it mountaintop development because there is no developable land unless you take the mountains off. God give us coal. God give us coal to use. And we know as mountaintop developers, we understand that we have to do it in a responsible way.
Hey, Jason.
You guys talked to anybody?
I haven't.
Although the major coal companies had turned us down for an interview, at this hearing we were able to catch Jason Bostic of the West Virginia Coal Association to give the industry's perspective.
At West Virginia University, there was a study in 2012 that showed cancer rates twice as high for neighboring regions around surface mine sites. What is your response to these studies?
Correlation does not equal causation. Health has been poor in Appalachia for a long time, certainly before the dawn of large-scale surface mining. And just because we operate adjacent to populations that are already impaired does not mean we're the cause of that. You know, we have thousands of men and women every day that show up and operate equipment on these surface mines. And there has been no increase, as far as we can tell, in respiratory or other ailments or maladies in our workforce.
Are you hopeful about the current administration and its views on the coal industry?
Yes, very optimistic, very optimistic. We think that President Trump finally acknowledges the hard work that's done here in West Virginia and has been done in West Virginia for decades to build this country to make it a better place.
We've ended the war on beautiful, clean coal. We've stopped the EPA intrusion.
There's no doubt President Donald Trump is a strong ally of the coal industry. But there's uncertainty around whether his policies benefit workers or just pad the corporate profits of coal executives, like those who've donated heavily to his party and to his campaigns. For decades, the amount of coal produced in the U.S. has remained relatively stable, but coal companies employ less than half the workers they did in 1980. That's largely because of automation and heavy machinery replacing the need for workers. Mountaintop removal sites are one example of this. The growth of other energy industries in Appalachia, like solar, has been almost completely ignored by political leaders. But in West Virginia and in Washington, the coal industry has been politically protected.
The White House is shutting down a study examining the health effects of mountaintop removal coal mining. The waste from the process then is dumped down into the streams and valleys below nearby.
So we were just at their hearing a few weeks ago, and now the National Academies study into mountaintop removal has been halted by the Trump administration. The Department of the Interior is telling us that they're halting and reviewing all of their studies that cost more than $100,000, but the Charleston Gazette-Mail just had this report that shows actually the National Academy study is being singled out. The Department of the Interior won't tell us why. We filed a ton of requests through the Freedom of Information Act, and we got all this in return. For a reporter, this is like Christmas morning. Most of this is communication within the Department of the Interior. You can see the researchers trying and failing to convince their supervisors that more research is badly needed into the human health impact of mountaintop removal. This is the second government study in 3 years into this topic to get shut down. And the people we spoke to in West Virginia, they really pinned their hopes to that National Academies study.
This is my home. You know, I grew up hunting over there where that equipment is right now. You know, I spent time with my pawpaw out there on that mine site. You know, this isn't our capitalist system gone horribly, horribly wrong. This is our capitalist system gone horribly, horribly right and according to plan. That's what this is.
It's not as expensive to mine the coal this way for them. But, you know, it's pretty expensive once you start adding in all the external factors like the health problems it throws on communities. We're the ones that created this mess, and we're passing it on to our kids. And they're going to look at us one day and say, what the hell are you thinking about? You know, what was you thinking about?